Minded with Matt Curran. I'm your host, Matt Curran. Email if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or theological insights is rightmindedpodcast@gmail.com. That's rightmindedpodcast@gmail.com. Folks, welcome to Right Minded with Matt Curran. I told you we get to secession. We'll talk about secession and how I think it would play out 20, 30 years from now. Just a hypothetical, just like one of those high school foreign policy playing things. Oh, shoot, I can't think of the name off the top of my head. Maybe one of you in the audience could email me at rightmindedpodcast.com and tell me what the heck it is. But it's we're getting to secession. And we'll talk about a theme I have called Voice Your Conscience, the Voice Your Conscience campaign. It is phenomenal. You've got to hear the Voice Your Conscience campaign. I've got great things about it and how it relates to where we are with our party now, the Republican Party, and where it could go if we strategize it right. We'll get to our very first Curran's Corner right after that. And by the way, this episode might go to 30 minutes. I have so much to talk about that 20, 22 minutes may not be enough. So I get 8 minutes of freedom today. Just right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that. And before we get started, I have to tell you I was correct. Correct, I tell you, about Lisa Murkowski. Another prediction comes true. I'm getting good at these predictions. I should have done podcasts a long time ago because I actually didn't expect Lisa Murkowski to say anything before the impeachment, before the trial, or anything about her, leaving the Republican Party, which she said, according to the Washington Post, she says Lisa Murkowski might leave the Republican Party, but absolutely won't join the Democrats. When asked, Lisa Murkowski asking her, are you considering joining the Democrat majority? Murkowski said, no, absolutely not. Just considering leaving the Republican Party. And if you listen to my last podcast, it's because Lisa Murkowski can't win in a two-way race. So if she leaves, she runs as an independent up in Alaska, Sarah Palin or somebody swoops in and takes the Republican nomination, and it's a three-way race and all guns are out. Because if it's a two-way race in a primary especially, Lisa Murkowski is going to lose the primary again if she runs. The support, remember, she won 39% in 2010 as a write-in vote against the Tea Party candidate because she lost the nomination. And the Tea Party guy sank his campaign with arresting a reporter. And then in 2014, she won by 44% when she ran as a Republican nominee because the last guy decided to run as a Libertarian. The Libertarian came second place. It's been all concocted. And that was a four-way race. There was also an independent in there that got 11% of the vote and took votes away from other people. So she has to run third party. I was not expecting her to come out and announce it this soon, but it's irrelevant to impeachment because if she votes to convict, she can't go up there and get the Republican nomination. She's going to get murdered. But if she doesn't vote to convict, if they even hold the trial, we don't know yet. If she doesn't vote to convict, then she might actually have a chance at the Republican Party nomination, and it's still going to be a bloody fight, but she has a better chance. So my prediction came true that she's going to aim to angle this as a three-way race. I did not expect her to try to do this 2 years out, but with this impeachment looming, that's going to be a big vote. I should have predicted that part, that it would be before the end of the impeachment. But I'm new to the prediction game, so as we do this podcast, I'll get better. I'll give you more details next time. All right, so secession. If it does happen, it's going to happen like 20, 30 years from now, okay? Because the federal government, has the states by their ears, kind of like a dog or a wolf. Let's just start off with power grids. There are 3 main power grids in the United States, okay? 49 states use 2 of them. The only state that owns their own power grid is Texas. So if, Mississippi or North Carolina secede, okay, well, federal government's going to shut your power off. War's done. If peaceful transition done. If it's peaceful, you can do it like Brexit. You can take 4, 6, maybe 2 decades to leave the union. It's taking Brexit how long to freaking get their stuff together. But yeah, you maybe peacefully might become a 2-decade thing. But if you're gonna do it forcefully, you're pretty much screwed. Because then you also have financial institutions. 49 states all use their financial institutions state legislators from a D.C. or the New York Stock Exchange. It's all different. They don't have their own banking system, except for the state of North Dakota, which has its own banking system, publicly owned. Not publicly owned, state-owned, but public citizens in North Dakota can opt in and use the bank. Dude, if they shut down, they can start their own treasury. None of the other states can do this. They'd have to set up, they'd have to get foreign buy-in. North Dakota would have to do a little bit of that, but it wouldn't be as hard. They don't have to start a whole new banking institution. So North Dakota's ahead of the game in the financial institutions. But the two main reasons outside of those there's a whole bunch of those little weird facts, what the federal government knows, what they don't know. We haven't even gotten to, land, 90% of Nevada is technically owned by the federal government. So, you'd have, little pockets of whatever Nevada. So, you've got weird stuff like that. Because think about the Civil War. Fort Sumter, federal government still claimed that. South Carolina acknowledged it. They let them have Fort Sumter. Abraham Lincoln marches the people across South Carolina. South Carolina get teed off, and there goes the Civil War. The other two main reasons is going to be foreign buy-in, whether you do it peacefully. If you do it peacefully, you have a better chance. And in all of these scenarios, okay, if you do it forcefully, which, by the way, I'm not advocating for this. I'll give you, if any state secedes, it's going to be the left. In fact, I would argue that they're already in the process of seceding. California, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, they're not even following federal law. Marijuana law, there's a federal ban. They're not following that. Federal immigration law, they have sanctuaries. It's just ridiculous. They don't even follow federal law. Isn't that the whole point of being in a union? Is we all agree to this thing? Anyway, foreign buy-in. You'd have to set ambassadors all over the world. You'd have to start new trade agreements. That takes a process to get going. But the average state budget is managed by the federal government. 33% of the average state budget is managed by the federal government through grants, and they tell you how to spend it, and they say, hey, state, if you want this, federal highway fund, you got to raise the alcohol age to 21. That's where it all really began. So I'm going to read to you the top five states that have their state budget managed by the federal government. Number 1, New Mexico. Number 2, West Virginia. Number 3, Alabama. Number 4, Mississippi. Number 5, Montana. I realize from a podcast radio standpoint, I should have started with 5. I should have gone 5 to 1. It's more dramatic that way. If I say 1, y'all probably didn't even want to listen to 2 to 5. Well, come on. These are the things you learn. But anyway, so New Mexico, 42% of the state budget is managed by the federal government. So when you elect your state representative out in New Mexico, man, oh man, you're only voting for them to manage 68% of the budget? No, 58%. 58% of the budget. Wow, that's lame. You're gonna let the congressman from Delaware have a say in New Mexican policy? Wow, that's interesting. I wouldn't like that. But in addition, so you'd have to get completely down to zero, okay, just in state funding. Then you have to get your citizens to opt into it, because you got things like Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare. They've been paying into that system for ever. So if you want to do this peacefully, what would be really cool, and it would be kind of it would probably be way better than the federal government's version. What if you could get a state to have their own Social Security program, and just like the Amish, take it to the Supreme Court and be forced to opt out of it, because as a citizen of whatever state, you have your own Social Security program. It would probably be way better managed than this other stuff out here. And then the rest of the country would probably benefit. Again, this goes back to localizing stuff. The rest of the country would benefit because, they don't have to pay. They wouldn't be getting revenues from that state, but they also don't got to pay you all that money. So it's a lot easier for the federal government to manage. But anyway, that's a double benefit. That's why secession is not going to happen for a long time, because you have to get the state legislators to slowly move all this process. This takes time. It's time. So then they're all too closely tied. They're all too closely tied to the federal government. All right. Enough with secession. I just figured I've had people talking and asking about it that we mentioned it here. All right, so Voice Your Conscience campaign. Voice Your Conscience. The reason I say Voice Your Conscience campaign is I am so sick and dang tired of this silent majority talk from the right. You better watch out for the silent majority. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yes. We're going to show up to the ballot box, and then we get cheated, and then what, blah, 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 blah. And then you go to work, and you can't say anything because you got to have money to pay off your mortgage. And, there's things you can do personally, like if you just pay off your house, don't have any debt, you won't be tied to anybody. You can go out and do whatever, and you get fired, and it's like, well, dude, I guess what? I don't have to pay anything but a water bill and electricity and put food on the table. That's like I can work minimum wage and pay that if I don't have any debt. So personally, there's a lot of things you can do. But society-wise, you just got to voice your conscience. And I want to play a clip because I think voicing your conscience even goes beyond just the typical establishment, non-conservative people like the Lisa Murkowskis, the Mitt Romneys, and the Susan Collins. It even goes to the anti-establishment wannabes like Ted Cruz. I don't like Ted Cruz. You want to know why? I want to take you, and this is where voice your conscience is important, because they're going to try to, whether Donald Trump stays in the scene or not, and he goes on to the sunset or not, they're going to try to claim representation of lost Trump voters in a nicer, in a kinder, gentler manner. Okay, they're going to try to do that. But they're not going to have the right intentions. They are just as a part of the establishment as everybody. Sure, they come to the right and they get the right speaking points. They vote the right way. There's only like 2 or 3 people up in Washington that I actually trust. I won't name names. That I actually trust in the legislative branch who are honest as far as like intention wise and believe in what we believe. And I don't believe Ted Cruz is one of those. Go back to 2016. He not only attacked Donald Trump because of the primary and all that jazz, but it was beneath him to have to endorse Trump, and he never did, by the way. So I want to play a clip, and because I'm stealing the Voice Your Conscience campaign, I'm editing it a little bit from what Ted Cruz did on the whole Vote Your Conscience campaign, which I did not like at the time. But I'm stealing it, I'm dwarfing it over into Voice Your Conscience. Here's what he said. This is why I don't like it. This is why he's considered establishment, in my opinion. Don't believe the right-wing news and people telling you that Ted Cruz is in. Here is a clip, and then I want to expand on it more.
If you love our country and love your children as much as I know that you do, stand and speak and vote your conscience. Vote for candidates up and down the ticket who you trust to defend our freedom and to be faithful to the Constitution.
And this was at the Republican National Convention after Trump won it. Had heavy delegate support, and now they're chanting, "Gone with Cruz, gone with Cruz, down with Cruz," all this stuff. But here's the snarky comment getting ready to come.
I appreciate the enthusiasm of the New York delegation.
I appreciate the enthusiasm of the New York delegation. That's like the 3rd time he said that, and that's something that Ted Cruz didn't even get. And I don't even know if he still gets it. Donald Trump represents the lost men and women. Not the lost men and women, like they're like veterans, but like forgotten men. People who weren't a part of the political scene. They didn't want anything about it. They didn't think that their vote meant anything. They didn't think they could change it. They were just going down this wrong track of America. Remember in the debates, before he made that snarky comment about, "I appreciate the enthusiasm of the New York delegation," in a debate, Ted Cruz thought of it as an insult to have to go and tell Donald Trump, "He has New York values, folks. New York values. Donald Trump has New York values. That's a really bad thing." Donald Trump goes, "Yeah, I have New York values. You want to know who saved a lot of small businesses in New York City after 9/11? This guy. That's a New York value thing." And the audience applauded that, and I applauded it too. Ted Cruz, it was of the same establishment mindset that you can't win Wisconsin, that you can't win Michigan, that you can't win Pennsylvania. And had he gotten the nomination, he wouldn't have campaigned there.